So let's get into it. Let's talk about the market. I'm going to talk about the Charleston market, but first I want to talk about the Federal Reserve's meeting this week on Wednesday. They said that they're likely not going to raise rates. Rates won't rise until 2023, despite some, of course, growing some concerns about inflation. And they said that their economic growth projection is at 6.5%, which is about 3 times that of normal economic growth. They're anticipating a better jobs market. They're anticipating unemployment to go down. So really all good things from that report. But what I want you guys to understand is that the Federal Reserve controls short-term interest rates. Mortgage rates are long-term rates, and mortgage lenders really kind of take their cues from the bond market when setting the rates that they charge to borrowers. So the Fed funds rate in and of itself doesn't really have an impact, so to speak, on mortgage rates. They really kind of track the direction of the 10-year Treasury. But even that relationship isn't foolproof. I mean, that relationship can vary. I mean, you saw that the 10-year Treasury rates were on an upward trend from August of last year, but mortgage rates still were falling up until really last month. But they have gone up. You know, if you look at the actual impact of the increase in interest rates, which is, again, not much. But if you look at a traditional kind of $300,000 mortgage, it means that now compared to the beginning of the year, you're paying about an extra $70 a month. So the Fed does have, some things to do with interest rates. Like obviously their stance on purchasing mortgage-backed securities has given lenders the liquidity that they need in the market. And they've kind of reaffirmed their commitment to do that and to ongoing asset purchases. But they also acknowledge that, hey, at some point, right, this is going to have to taper off. And that should help the, slow down the rise of interest rates that we've been seeing over the past few months. But either way, we're still at around 3%. It's still a fantastic interest rate. It's still just a very strong market for folks that are getting mortgages. When we look at the Charleston market, though, I want to give you guys an understanding of kind of where we are right now and where we were this time last year. So when we look at the number of listings that we put on the market, every day, we've put about the same number of new listings on the market year to date as we have this time last year. It's a little over 4,000 properties on the market. So there's not a ton of change there. We're down about 10% in terms of adding inventory to the market. But what's happening is that inventory is being absorbed at a much faster rate. It's being absorbed. We have about 25% more properties under contract, properties being acquired compared to this time last year, which is really interesting when you look at the actual inventory of homes for sale. At the end of February, we had a little over 1,700 homes available for sale. That's down almost 70% because in February of 2020, we had 5,400 homes available for sale. I just checked right now. We're at 1,600 properties available for sale. So that's why you're seeing days on market drop drastically. The average in the market is still 41 days, which is a decent amount of time. But we all know that if a property is priced well, it's in good condition, it's marketed well, it's going to sell in a few days. The challenge that I think a lot of sellers have right now, and this is true, this is a real thing, is they'll put the property on the market and assuming it was the strategy to generate multiple offers, because you've got, two different basic styles when listing a property. Either list it for what it's worth and let buyers fight over it, which gives you, the seller, in my opinion, the best price and allows you to choose the contract with the best terms because they know they're fighting over one another. Buyers are willing to let some things go in order to be the one that buys the house. But then the seller's kind of left with, well, did I get everything that I could have out of the process? I would say that in most instances, the answer is yes, unless they're making a really quick decision on an offer without waiting for a few other offers to come in. And again, we have to take that process. We have to be very careful with that because we don't want to have somebody essentially pay what we're asking, hope that something else is going to come in, and then the buyer that was willing to give us everything that we wanted says, yeah, you're just kind of using my offer to bait the line and get a bunch of other offers. We're out. We found something else. But of course, the other strategy is, I think it's worth, let's just random number. I think it's worth $500,000. I want to list it at $535,000. Let's see what buyers do with that. And I'll tell you that in a market like this, I continue to be surprised at the amount buyers are willing to pay for properties. So it's not necessarily a matter of which strategy is right or wrong, which one is better than the other. I think it ultimately comes down to what your goals are as a seller. You know, if you think about it, there's really only a few kind of main objectives that sellers have when selling a property. Either they need to sell it quickly because they have some sort of time frame they have to work with, whether it be, hey, I'm moving and I'm starting another job in a different location, or, you know what, I found a home that I want to buy. I don't want to mess around. I want to get this one sold so I can buy that one because it's a great fit. Or maybe there's some sort of distress, right? Hey, I've got to sell this property and kind of stop the bleeding. I need to get out before things get worse. Then you have other folks that say, I don't really care how long it takes. I'm not in a rush to sell. This is purely an opportunistic sale. I realize that the market is great. I realize that I can sell for basically top dollar. And that's what I want. You know, I'm not going to entertain or concede on many things because I realize that the market's in my favor. And then you have the folks that say, look, I just want a fair price in a relatively reasonable amount of time to sell my property, but I just don't want the inconvenience that comes with selling a property. You know, I want this to be an easy transaction. And so what we've been working really hard on, really over the past several years, right? But especially over the course of the pandemic, is creating options for people that allow them to say, here's what my goal is, that then say to us, okay, well, if that's what you're trying to accomplish, then this is what I think would work best for you. And so when we come back, I'm going to talk about some of these different options that we have for sellers. And we're also going to talk about buyers. You know, what are you guys doing in a market where sellers kind of hold the cards? They've got their deck stacked in their favor. How can we get around some of that stuff? What do we need to be aware of? And what are some things that, you know, we can kind of concede on to allow us to purchase the property rather than just kind of lose out on opportunity after opportunity? And you're not buying your favorite home, you're buying your favorite home the sixth time you find your favorite home, if you know what I mean. So we're going to talk more about that when we come back. Stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. And remember, if you want to reach out to me, talk a little bit more about what you guys have planned, my private number is 843-400-8009. That's 843-400-8009. Listingsincharleston.com is our website, or you can always send an email, brian@brianbeattyteam.com. Stick around. We'll be right back.
More stimulating talk on real estate matters with Brian Beatty next on 1250 WTMA.